My name's Michael O'Reilly. I'm an automotive fabricator. Work and own ARC Cartel. We specialise in automotive fabrication, be that stainless, aluminium, restoration work, roll cages, anything at all. From a very early age, we were in all three of the country's racetracks, so Mondello Park, Kirsten, Bishop's Court, with family being there for generations. So we had marshals, officials. My grandfather was the president of the Dunboyne Motor Club. Nana raced minis in a couple of charity races. There was other racing going on throughout the family. A cousin of mine races motorbikes and sidecars, has done the TT a couple of times. A big shout out to Anthony McDonald and Derek Lynch. We'll see is there. With family history throughout motorsport, we had my nana working as clerk of the course for the Phoenix Park races in 1978. There was one death ever in the Phoenix Park races, and that was a man, Mr. O'Reilly, and that was my mother's godfather. That happened at Rattler Corner, was my grandfather and what would be his kids, so my dad and his brothers and sisters. It came through the radio, something Riley's been involved in an accident. My nana, being clerk of the course, instantly thought, there's been an accident at that corner. Some of her direct family has been wiped out, and she was lucky enough that it wasn't that, but it was my mother's godfather, and he was the only death ever in the Phoenix Park races. You were never allowed a monument or a plaque or anything, but last year on the anniversary they were allowed to plant a tree. So there was a tree planted, and that's there in memory now. So yeah, heavily intertwined throughout motorsport from, I'd say, the early 70s till present day, and I don't see that ever changing. Before I got into modified cars myself, obviously spending time around motorsport, anything that was quote unquote modified was for race purposes. So whenever I would have been in the car with Dad driving through a town or whatever, and you seen a modified car, I sort of looked at it and went, what's the point of that? Until I got my first car, which was one of those. 2 weeks later it was on the tiles. This is number 12. I don't know, they were just always sort of a little quirky car. My first car was a little maroon one from day dot. I just really liked them. There's always little bits and pieces you can do. I currently have two. One of them people might recognise, that one nobody will probably recognise, but yeah, no, I just enjoyed them. They were easy to work at. I learned a lot with them, with how to turn spanners and do a bit of my own mechanical work as a learning curve, something that was relatively fun to drive. They're not quick by any means. Yeah, I just fell in love with them. Many people don't know, before I got into welding and fabricating, I worked as a chef for 6 or 7 years. I got fed up with it being so antisocial. You were working 13, 15-hour days, 7 days a week, every week. An opportunity came up in an engineering firm locally to get in and help with their quality control. I managed to secure the job, got in and worked alongside a couple of boys there that were doing the quality control. One of them was their welding inspector. I seen the bright light and was drawn to it like a moth. I was chatting to one of the men that used to fabricate some of the parts for said company, and he tacked up some bits for me, roughly explained how to do it, and went for his lunch and left me to my own devices. I did that horribly. He came back, gave me some feedback, and I did that for probably 4 months. Why I'm here now. There was an immersible amount of minis through my family, from my grandfather, my nana, and then my dad and his brothers and sisters had minis and stuff too. The nana actually raced a mini in a charity race, but I had seen photos and heard stories and whatnot, so I fell in love with the idea of buying a mini. So it was driven for about 9 months, and then it was taken off the road, and that's 8 years ago next month. That sort of happened accidentally. I did a couple of bits and pieces for people that I know, and then that expanded, and then doing stuff for myself just kept on sort of growing organically. So when it come time, stepped out of full-time employment stayed part-time, and along the way then I worked a couple of years with a local rallyman building Mark II escorts, looking after servicing and sort of the whole ins and outs of what it takes to start with a road shell and finish a rally weekend from start to finish. Yeah, just sort of progressed that way and left it that there's enough work to comfortably make a living. You get to enjoy going to events and stuff surrounded by people now that are coming to you looking for work done. So no, it's nice, like it's full circle. I wouldn't really say that there was many challenges. When it comes to it, most of it's just down to practice. So I'm welding and fabricating probably 8 years now. With that amount of time behind a welding mask, if you're not doing something to a decent standard, you probably should stop. I would say the only sort of hurdle I had was when it came to teaching myself how to TIG weld, trying to get information. People like to gatekeep and not help you, but I'm lucky enough now that I fell in with the right people that I'm happy to be able to call friends that would be as helpful as possible, give you a setting to try, maybe change the gas volume that you would be putting through your TIG cup, change how far you stick your tungsten out, little small things that make a massive difference. And I'm very thankful that I had people like that that could give me little pointers, push my own progress. The project I'd probably be proudest of is probably my best friend's car. We built, between the two of us, we built an E46 drift car, full T45 customs cage, all the welding seat bars, pretty much everything that you were going to need, bar we left the standard BMW engine and gearbox in her for now. That car, we did all the fabrication work, we painted it, we did an awful lot, and now that car is actually being used as part of the National Drift Academy Drift School in Bishop's Court. That's probably my proudest project to date anyway. When it comes to the welding aspect, as much practice as physically possible. Get yourself somewhat comfortable with, be it a MIG torch, a TIG torch, whatever it may be. Get yourself somewhat comfortable where you're able to weld a straight line about that long on just a piece of flat material. Once you can do that, and you can do it 4 or 5 times, do a job on something. Because if you make a mistake on a piece of scrap, you can put it in the bin and start again. If you make a mistake on, say, putting a sill into a car or a patch, whatever it may be, if you make a mistake there, you have to fix it. So it forces you to progress faster. Other than that, I would say just don't give up. You're not going to be a professional in a week, but you'll get there if you keep trying. So the BMW build, I currently have a black E46 330D estate. It's going to be a bit mad. Started from the ground up, gathered up pretty much every component for the underside of her, lifted the car over to FD Motors, that's a good friend of mine, dropped the car off, welded in all the subframe supporting plates, bits and pieces like that, pulled the engine and the gearbox. She's on all new BC suspension, poly bushes, absolutely everything and anything that can be done is done. She got full catalogue of stuff that I could get from CDM Sport. So she's now sitting on the ground, engine and gearbox is still out of her. I have an engine builder that's going to go at the engine, uprated head studs, potentially valve guides depending on condition, uprated valve springs, just go absolutely mental. I have a 3073 turbo systems turbo, so we are hoping to be somewhere in the 500 horsepower 1000 newton meter mark. That's all up to MCB Performance, Josh McBride. He's going to be the man pushing the numbers, so I've been working closely with Josh to make sure that we had the recipe right, and we shouldn't be too far away, so she should be something a bit evil. Oh yeah, that's a road car. The plan for the Mini is I have a full composite front, I have polycarb windows, heated windscreen, composite doors, composite boot. I need to get the roll cage, I need to get massive 6-pot front brakes because that car's going to be fast. She's getting a Yamaha R1 engine and a turbo and should see around 200 horsepower at the wheels, which should put her at 400 horsepower per ton, roughly. That's Lamborghini numbers. Yeah, I need to make sure the roll cage is good in that one. Short answer, yes. Some people would recognise my other Polo. I have a blue Polo. She was a 1.9 straight diesel. She's now a 1400 16 valve on 900 Fireblade carbs, fuel cell and boot. She's just another road toy that got about 95% finished and pushed into show 2 years ago and hasn't turned the wheel since. Another project that's undisclosed. The engine for it is sitting over in that corner, but the engine wouldn't give anything away. I have a B230 Volvo 2.3 turbo red block and a gearbox to go into an undisclosed BMW. It will follow along after the 46 is finished, so you'll understand more then. So we have a Facebook, an Instagram and a TikTok. The Facebook and Instagram are just at ARC Cartel. They're relatively handy to find. The TikTok is Fogel_ARC_Cartel.